And what I've learned in the past few years is that a lot of times my anger was coming from a place of fear of the unknown, fear of the future, fear of a lack of control. Welcome back to episode 127 of the Dill podcast, the place where we answer the most viral questions about Catholic life. I'm your host, Pete Dill. Today, we got a great show for today. We're going to talk about anger. We're going to talk about righteous anger. We're going to talk about Jason Kelce. We're going to talk about the Kelce brothers, all hot topics. First, I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to welcome you back. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, I appreciate you being here. Now, if you've been here before, you see that I'm in kind of a different setup. You know, I've switched some of the setups. I've even switched headquarters. We've even switched headquarters from Austin to San Antonio here at Dill and BackSeat Media. But as you can see, I got a little bit more of I got this new mic. I got a little bit more of a professional rig going on. I got the plant right here for those watching on YouTube. I got a nice plant. I got to water this thing exactly 0 times a day. It's completely fake. Perfect for a studio. Got my guitar here in case we want to break out in song. In case we need to... Oh, shoot. Okay, sorry, I'm still getting used to this whole setup. In case we want to break out in song, hopefully we don't get copywritten strike for that beautiful rendition of "You Raise Me Up" by Josh Groban. We got this new rig, got a new microphone and mic stand holder for my birthday from the family. So shout out to the family. Appreciate you all so much. I'm getting used to the mic being right in front of my face, and the reason why these podcast microphones are these podcast microphones are made to be able to speak quietly, clearly into a mic, and it picks up the sound really well. I have to work on not yelling. I literally just checked my levels here on the audio. They're about as loud as you can go. They're like, listen, you got to quiet down. This whole audio is going to be busted. I have to actually get used to not yelling. I'm used to yelling in my regular life and yelling to the camera microphone, but still getting used to this whole rig. I love it. I love the setup. We're getting a little more professional around here. We're going to keep leveling up. Actually, next week, I have another piece of gear coming. I think you guys are going to like it. I know I'm going to like it. We're going to get this little podcast studio looking really, really good. So appreciate my family for buying me this for my birthday, and appreciate y'all for being here. Again, I know how busy life is, and the fact that you're even 2-3 minutes into a podcast of your busy day means the world to me, and also means the world to, it means the world to me. I was going to say, well, it means the world to me. Not it means the world to end, but and it means the world to me, and I think there's been a lot of great fruit I've seen out of this podcast. You might be one of those people who we've had great conversations. You might not be, but through this podcast and through doing this every single week, I've been able to have a lot of great conversations online and offline with some of you out there, just talking about like this life that we're living, this Catholic life, because I think it's worth having these discussions. I think it's worth talking about. I think it's worth listening to and trying to figure out, how to do this life well. It's not easy, and we don't have the answers, and I certainly don't have the answers. I just try to have the conversation. I hope this is like a conversation between us. I never try to be someone who's trying to give or pretend like I have all the answers. And I'm working on that. I think what I'm working on in this podcast of my life is not always just instantly going to preach mode, not instantly going to, I have all the right answers and whatever I say is just absolute gold mode. I'm trying to be inquisitive, curious. I'm trying to stay curious. I'm trying to learn in my research for these episodes. Believe it or not, I do a lot of research for these episodes. Maybe it sounds like I'm unprepared, but I do a lot of research for the episodes. But I try to learn about the topics. Last week was confession. Today we're talking about anger. Talked about, what it means to be a man. I try to go to the catechism, the Bible, saints, writers, and just learn, because I want these to be a resource that I can learn from and you can learn from, and we can talk about, and we can just, have these moments together, and hopefully it's entertaining. Funnily enough, I actually I'm trying to work on the entertaining part, because one thing I do know as of 127 episodes into this, people don't want to go to school when they're listening to a podcast. And if they are learning, it needs to be really, really high quality learning, like how I made this, or how I built this, or who's the history guy? Oh my gosh, that famous history podcast. The dude that's been doing it for 20 years. I can't remember Dan Carlin, right? I can't remember the podcast name. But if people are gonna learn, it has to be like really, really high quality. And I want to balance the learning and the kind of discovery along with the entertainment. So that's why I'm even spending a couple minutes right now just chatting with you. Hopefully on your car ride, or hopefully on your gym sesh right now, or wherever the heck you are, that this can be even like a slight bit entertaining. And not that this has to be like a joke, like whoop, 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 look at my moves right here, look at my clown moves. But people don't just want to listen for 20 minutes and just like feel like they're in class. That much I know, especially when I'm not a teacher. So don't hold me to a professor's standard. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there to all y'all. Hopefully, as we get into the meat of this, you are feeling, kind of understand where I'm coming from more and more. So I want to be able to share your day with you, have it be a little entertaining. Hopefully you take something from it. Hopefully we can have conversations online and offline about these things in our Catholic life. Okay, going into today's topic, we're going to talk about anger. Righteous anger. What's the difference between destructive and righteous anger? And it all revolves around Jason Kelce. I don't know if you saw this story. If you saw this thing that happened, but here's the question. Saw a video of Jason Kelce smashing the phone of a fan/troll who was taking a video of him and making fun of his brother Travis and called him a slur for dating Taylor Swift. Was that righteous anger on behalf of Jason Kelce? So, for some background, the video is Jason Kelce's walking into a football stadium last week. He's an announcer. He's a new broadcaster. He's walking into a stadium, and people are coming up to him, and they're filming him, and they're getting in his face, and people are taking pictures. And he's just walking, and eventually, someone just says something, calls his brother Travis a slur, and in reference to him dating Taylor Swift. And Jason Kelce just takes his phone and just smashes it on the ground. And of course, like most people, the kid was just like, "Oh, what? Like that just happened?" Yeah, dude, you just found out. And so the question is, was that righteous anger? First and foremost, I think we are so celebrity obsessed in our culture, but we're also, with our rise of celebrity obsession, I feel like we've also lost like privacy. We've lost like decency when it comes to like people going up to celebrities. I had an experience of this one time. I was working a concert like 6-7 years ago in New York. And I was working a concert with a pretty famous rap group. Now, actually, it was a festival. And one time slot was a very famous rap group called Run the Jewels. They're famous, and people who like rap and like them. So I'm working backstage. So whatever. They come on. They do their show. They come off. As soon as they are off the stage, and I'm back there doing like background stuff, I'm like working. People out of nowhere start just trying to take their picture, come up behind them. Yo, let me get a selfie. Yo, come here, quick. Yo, can you be my video quick? Like every step they were walking, someone was coming to they would take a picture, jump on their back, take a picture. Yo, people. It was just insanity. And it was a 50-foot walk from the back of the stage to their tour bus. And they just go on the tour bus, and people are banging on the tour bus. Yo, go on, let me be this video. And like, this is a pretty popular group, but this is not like a international top 10 bestseller. It's just like a very popular rap group, and people were like obsessed and just invading their personal space. And I remember I was like, whoa, I can't even imagine that. And if they're like, dude, get away from me, people would be like, you guys are jerks. When literally people are jumping. Who's the jerk? The person jumping on someone to take a picture, or the person who like tries to secure their personal space? So I always remember that, where I was like, wow, people really have no filter, no boundaries, no privacy when they want to take a picture with someone famous. So, I think also something funny about this interaction of Jason Kelce smashing a phone is like, this kid maybe thought Jason Kelce, thought maybe Jason Kelce was just like a celebrity, forgetting that Jason Kelce is a football player first. and then he's a famous football player, but he's a football player. Like, going up to a dude who's 6'4", 270, and like calling his brother a slur, like, what do you think is gonna happen? You're lucky that your phone just got smashed and it wasn't your face. You know what I mean? I think it's one of those things like, what do you think has happened in the real world? If you like go up to and like accost someone, things happen. You're pushing the limits, you're pushing the boundaries, and yeah, you're pushing the boundaries of the consequences. The consequences sometimes come. And if you ask for it, the consequences sometimes hit you right in the face. Now, that's why I say this guy's lucky that it was just his phone getting smashed. I remember when I was a kid, I found out the hard way about running my mouth and then paying the consequences. And I'll never forget this moment. It's a good lesson for me. I was like a 12-year-old. We were a bunch of me and my friends. It was a snow day, New Jersey, classic snow day. Snows in the morning. Everyone runs to the hill, the big hill, to go sledding and snowboarding or whatever. And me and all my friends, we all went to school together, different age ranges. We're all there and we're all hanging out. And, and then there's other kids at public school and the private school and the Catholic school. We all kind of know each other a little bit here and there. And there's one big kid who was like a junior in high school. And he was by himself and he was kind of mouthing off to me and my friends. And I was kind of the middle of my friend group. I was probably like 12 years old, 13 years old. And then there was kids who were in high school, kids who were a little younger. And this guy's kind of mouthing off. And, it's kind of friendly here and there, nothing too crazy. But, this, that, and da-da. And all of a sudden this kid says, well, I'm like an all-state wrestler and I'll wrestle any of you right now. Come on, like, who's going to be a man and wrestle me? Well, me being like a 12-year-old, I was like, well, I'm basically as tall as this kid who knows how to wrestle. I'll wrestle him. So I walk right up to this kid, kind of like get in a grappling stance. And this guy just takes me and boom, just absolutely body slams me. In front of all my friends. Everyone is laughing at me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm the only guy who actually stood up here and did something about it. And the kid was like, all right, he's down. Who's next? And everyone's like, dude, we're not going to come wrestle you. And I actually, looking back, it was a really good lesson for me because like I felt like, oh, like what's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst that could happen actually is this kid who's a wrestler on a local public school is going to body slam you in the snow. Thank God it's just snow. And it's one of those things like, yeah, there are bigger and tougher guys out there. And if you push them to the limits, they can body slam you. Now, that was a good lesson. Getting body slammed in the snow is not that bad. Probably saved me from a lot worse for the next 15 years, knowing that like, hey, you never really know who's out there. This kid just thinks he can say something to a NFL Hall of Famer and just nothing gonna happen? Dude, like you can't do that. So I always love that kind of body slam story because I think for me, I took the lesson out of it, but it's also funny to think of myself just getting body slammed as a 12-year-old. And you lay there, oh, okay, stop, in the snow. Stop, enough. So was Jason Kelce righteous in his anger? But what is righteous anger? Righteous anger is anger that is aligned with God's will. It is anger at injustice. It's anger at something that opposes love, truth, justice. It's not anger for self-gain. It's not anger because, I want to punch you in the face because I'm really upset about something that happened at school or work and I'm trying to take it on you. No. Righteous anger is anger at something that offends God. That's kind of like the ultimate standard of righteous anger. Being upset at things that offend God, things that offend love, truth, justice, beauty. So when you're angry, when righteous anger against something that's like extortion, bullying, defiling a sacred space, that's righteous anger. The example of this is Jesus in the book of Matthew, where people are selling, stuff like a marketplace. They created a marketplace in the temple, this sacred space. And Jesus came in and wasn't angry, was very, very angry. Wasn't punching people in the face. He was flipping over tables. He was angry at people defiling God's sacred space. So there is such a thing as righteous anger. There has to be a line. The, unchecked righteous anger where it just turns into, if you're crossing a line and you're just taking it out on people and physically harming people, that's not righteous anger. Anger is anger at the sin that is happening or anger at the injustice that is happening. That doesn't mean you can now take physical harm on someone. Now, in this case, was Jason Kelce righteous in his anger? Honestly, I think so. I think smashing someone's phone when they're putting in your face and calling your brother something mean, definitely righteous anger. Should he have smashed the phone? I don't know, but I think that's one of those areas where the kid who was doing that to him probably learned a good lesson about, oh, hold on. I can't just be doing this. I can't just be invading people's personal space and using slurs and trying to bully someone who's bigger than me, because yeah, like you can't just get in people's faces like that. That's not right. So I actually do think he had the right to be angry. So he was protecting his little brother. And I think protecting the innocent, protecting the vulnerable, even if the vulnerable in this case is a 6'4" Hall of Fame tight end who's dating the biggest star in the world, but still that instinct to protect your family kicks in. And so in this case, I do think it was righteous. Now, should he have smashed the phone? Probably not, but the anger was righteous because it was out of protection, not petty frustration. If someone cuts you off and you smash their tailpipe or their lights, you're going, hey, listen, just I'm really angry at the injustice of you, going a little faster than me, cutting me off. Well, that's petty, and that's for self-gain and lashing out rather than standing up for justice. So we have to keep our righteous anger, though, in check. It can't just, it always is about, righteous anger is always about God's purpose and God's plan, and protecting that and upholding the dignity of human life and each other, rather than just blowing off some steam, taking your class ring, rolling around a couple of times, just blowing off some steam on someone. That's not righteous anger. Righteous anger has to be in check. And then there's this great line in Ephesians. Paul writes, in your anger, do not sin. So what he means by that is we still are accountable for our actions, even when we're in a state of anger. And let's remember that when we have righteous anger, we're still supposed to come down from it. We're not supposed to live in that state. It's just saying that when your emotions build up, when your emotions swell up, there can be a righteousness in that anger. But if it stays too long, if you're waking up in a righteous anger, it's going to corrode your mind, corrode your soul, because we're not supposed to live in that. We can't give in to our anger all the time. And moving from this idea, I think, of righteous anger, which we know exists, we know there's biblical kind of proof for this, and knowing that, like, hey, although we can have righteous anger, we're still not supposed to sin, and we're still accountable for our actions. And seeing that Jason Kelce was probably righteous in his anger right there. What does that mean for destructive anger, though? What is destructive anger? Like, what is anger? Anger is an emotion, but anger is also an emotion that comes from someplace else. A lot of times destructive anger, if we talk about righteous anger coming from a place of protection, coming from a place of upholding justice, love, coming from a place of protecting God's will and plan, destructive anger comes from a place of pride, hurt, comes from a place of, maybe humiliation. So I think it's important to even talk about, like, why our wounded hearts, why our pain, why our pride can swell up as anger. Anger can reveal something in us, actually. It is an emotion, but it can actually reveal something in us. It can reveal something that says we're actually probably holding on to too much control. We're anxious about the future. We're anxious about our lack of control in our actions, in other people, and in the state of our life. Some people cower in fear. Some people get anxious. Some people get anger. Some people have anger as a default response to protect our wounds, protect our pride. Things always don't go the way we want. Things are actually rarely going exactly how we plan. And a response to that from our wounds, from our pride, can be anger. So we have to understand that when we experience anger, like that kind of not that emotion of someone hit me, someone threw a rock at me and hit me, and now I'm angry at the pain of that person, but that response to things in our life, when our first response is anger, we have to get that under control. We have to understand where that's coming from. And a lot of times it's coming from fear. It's coming from wounds in ourselves. Jesus is constantly asking us to have humility, to trust in his plan. And a lot of times we can say it with our mouths, but deep, deep down, we have these hidden wounds that we're not giving to Jesus, that we're not letting Jesus heal us from. And a way to see that is anger, when we're blowing up at things, when we're getting angry at little things. And I know that I've experienced this in my life. I've actually had to have a lot of growth in anger. I've experienced a lot of anger in my life, anger as a response to things. And what I've learned in the past few years is that a lot of times my anger was coming from a place of fear of the unknown, fear of the future, fear of a lack of control. I would respond to things in anger. I don't know about you, but sometimes in my life I've had a history of, tripping over a wire on the floor and just getting like a swell of deep anger. Who else out there experiences that? I know there's other crazy people like me, but I would experience that in my life a lot of times. Like little things would set me off. And what I had to kind of come to was this realization that these little things, like something falling, tripping over a wire, stubbing my toe, missing a yellow light, would maybe set me off in anger because I was feeling overwhelmed a lot of times, feeling overwhelmed with the normalness of life, the realities of life, all these pressures of like, okay, I can't, how can I handle life, school, work, wife, family, all these things. And now ice cubes are dropping from the freezer. Oh my gosh, this is like the straw that's breaking the camel's back. This is the final straw. I'm so angry right now. And, maybe I calm down from that, but then still living in that state of like fear of the future, fear of the unknown, and then feeling overwhelmed by all of the things in my life. So then I miss a yellow light and I feel like, okay, now I'm going to be late and they're going to be angry at me for being late. And then I have to work extra hard to make sure they're not angry for being late. And then I'm going to be, too stressed at work or at school I'm going to be so stressed because I'm working so hard and come back, have to do all these things. And then I have to pay taxes and do all these different tasks and things that are happening. And if I just made that yellow light, I would still be in some control of my life. But I missed that light. And now I'm just sitting here angry. And I think what I realized is my responses from anger in my life came from, a scarcity that good things were going to stop coming to me or good things were going to be taken from me. And overwhelmedness in my life, overwhelmed of all of the things in my life that I had to do. And where does that overwhelmedness come? Well, the overwhelmedness comes from this maybe false belief that I have to do every single thing in my life and I'm not going to get any grace in my life. God's not going to take care of all the little things. I have to take care of all the little things. File for a homestead exemption, file for taxes, hang those pictures on the wall, study for that test, get my oil changed, get the tires changed, go to the bank, all these little things. God's not going to give me any grace. And so I would keep God away from all these minutia in my life and try to handle all these little things that would overwhelm me. And when I feel like I was always at the top of overwhelmedness, little things would just set me off in anger because I was always feeling like I'm overwhelmed and overwhelmed and overwhelmed and overwhelmed. And I've had to learn how to really give things to God in my life, every detail, saying like, Lord, I need help changing my baby's diaper. Lord, I need grace to file for this homestead exemption. Lord, I need grace to get the oil change. I need grace in my schedule. I need grace in my time. I need grace to feel fulfilled and feel grateful for the things you give me and not like, Lord, I give you this sense of overwhelmedness. I give you this sense of fear of the future. If I don't take care of all these things, everything's going to be taken from me. So I understand for myself, I really have been exposed to where anger has come from in my life. But I've had to say, whoa, like if this goes unchecked, they say anger is like a poison that kills the person. Anger is like a poison that you take yourself, something like that. Or it's like, like a poison that you only take yourself. I've had to really work hard to try to trust God with my life, the little details of my life, and that God is in control of my life. And that all of my worry and anger about little details or being overwhelmed, having to be like, well, what processes and things can I do to help myself not feel overwhelmed with the normalness of life or not feel like, ice falling from the freezer is going to set me off. And also trust that God has a plan for my life. Trust and believe that God has given me good things and will continue to give me good things because God is a good father to me. Not because he's a deceiver and he's trying to pull the rug from under me, which has been something I've had to learn. Like, hey, God's not trying to deceive me. He's actually trying to give to me. So what are some ways that we can deal with anger? This not righteous anger, but what are some ways that we can deal with unchecked anger? We got to pray. We got to pause. We got to take our time. We got to do the old count to 10 method, the old classic anger management, Adam Sandler, Jack Nicholson. We got to count to 10. We also have to pray. We have to be giving things to God. We have to constantly be in prayer and give to God the things in our life that are overwhelming us, but give to him everything, those wounds, those pains, and practice at that. Secondly, we have to look at the root of where this is coming from. I still don't perfectly know why all of my emotions are the way they are, but, looking at this idea, I had to really uncover the root of, okay, I have to trust that God is not deceiving me. I have to trust that God is a good father to me and wants to give to me, and he's going to challenge me to grow in holiness, but he's always going to be giving good things to me. And I can see that through the proof of my life, all the good things he's given to me. Secondly, that, good things are not always going to be taken away from me. I don't have to have a scarcity mindset of good things always be taken away. And thirdly, I had to look for the root of, I think maybe I'm overwhelmed a lot of times. I'm kind of in this fight or flight response with the normalness of life. And what can I do to help myself in that? I think a final thing that's a practical thing, but a hard thing and a spiritual thing we can do to deal with unchecked anger is to practice forgiveness. Not everyone's out to get you. Not everyone is out to take from you. Sometimes someone's just late to work and they cut you off by accident. We have to practice forgiveness. We have to practice mercy and forgiveness, because if we hold everything against each other, we're all going to be pointing the finger at one another all the time. Total Spider-Man meme. Just everyone Spider-Man memeing everyone else. You're the reason I'm bad. You're the reason I'm angry. You. Everyone just points the finger. We have to practice forgiveness. And this is one of those things, it starts with me. The person next to you might not be practicing forgiveness, and they might not forgive you, but it has to start with you. I think that could help with the anger, because then we can look at each other more as humans, as not just obstacles for getting in the way of something I want and I need. So those are some practicals. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you. I don't know. Let me know what you think about anger, unchecked anger, righteous anger. Do you think Jason Kelce was righteous in his anger, protecting his little brother? Have you struggled with this before? Is this something that you feel like, I don't know, do you struggle with this? Do you have solutions for helping yourself with anger? Do you recognize it yourself? Have you dealt with someone who has anger? I would love to hear from you. Text me, call me, email me, DM me, whatever. But I'd love to hear about your thoughts on this. So that's going to be it for me today. As usual, like, share, subscribe. Send this to someone you think would like it. And I appreciate you all being here so much. And I'll talk to you all soon. Peace. Bye.